Good evening, everyone. I hope you can all hear me and that I am audible on your side. So we're just going to allow an extra 4 or 5 minutes and then we will officially start at 6. Please remember that this session is going to be recorded and it will be made available on my modules after this session. Okay, so a very good evening to everyone who has joined today's session. I'm very excited to be facilitating this workshop with you guys. So I see that we have some new faces and we also have some familiar faces. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Miss Unati Jalandle Ngada, but please call me Unati, not Miss Ngada. It's a bit too formal for me. I have a master's in creative writing, honors in drama, a TEFL certificate, a bachelor's degree in drama. Doing my PhD. I'm also an author. I'm also a playwright, been a 5-time bestseller. So I'm really looking forward to facilitating these workshops with you for this semester. Just a reminder that for those who could not attend today's session, please do not fret. The session is currently being recorded and it will be made available after today's session. So as you can see from the very first slide, we are going to be focusing on two types of poetic text which are applicable to your assignment, especially the portfolio, and that is the haiku and also the praise poem. So before I proceed to the next slide, I just want to double check that you can all hear me, that you can all see this presentation. If you can just give me a thumbs up. Okay, perfect. Angeline, was that a thumbs up or did you have a question? Okay, see, okay, perfect. So first things first, I want to find out from you all what your goals for this semester are regarding this module and what is it that you hope to achieve from these workshops. And I think it is important that I know what your goals are and what it is that you want to um, achieve from these workshops, because for me as a lecturer, it's also going to help me plan my lessons and how I deliver my lessons. So in your own time, please feel free to comment on the chat box or even raise your hand where you share with me and with your fellow colleagues what your goals are for this semester and what is it that you want to achieve from these workshops. While you are replying to this question, I do want to also state, and I think this is a wonderful opportunity, especially for students, that if you would like to join the mail list for KSK, please feel free to contact me via email and ask that I add you to the mail list. So what happens with the mail list is that I send out emails to the students regarding creative writing opportunities that are out there in the professional world, because I am of the view that when doing a creative writing module, one of the best ways to enhance your skills as a creative writer is to actually put it to practice. So if you want to join that mail list, please send me a message and I will definitely add you to the mail list. Thank you, Siobhan. I'll definitely add you to the mail list. So Angeline says ways to come up with writing ideas, maybe question mark, and she puts a smiley face. Okay, that's quite interesting. I'm assuming this is relating to the assignment, more specific. I think that's the sense that I'm getting, that this is probably related to the assignment. So Jody says, I want some advice on how to better structure my work and how to get better ideas and how to take an idea and put it to paper. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jody, for sharing. Michael, I hope I've pronounced your name correctly. Do we send our My Life or normal Gmail account? Please use your My Life email address when contacting me about anything regarding the modules. Also, I think what I also want to uh, state while people are sharing their hopes for the semester is that if you are a student who is repeating this module, I would like you to contact me privately after the session so that we can arrange a meeting on how we can tackle some of the issues that you faced, which led you to repeating the module, the challenges that you were experiencing, which again led you to repeating this module. And reason why I I say this is because, you know, the aim for me is that I want to see everyone pass this module, and not just with a mere 50%, but I want to see you pass the module very well. So a real life story with that is I had a student the first semester who was repeating the module. She got 26%. And then I had to sit down with her, and we had to see what challenges did she experience, which led to her getting 26%. Then from then onwards, we would have regular meetings where we would do some exercises, give her tasks, and some tools to enhance her creative writing skills. And then in the end of the first semester, she ended up passing with 86%. So that made me very happy, and I just felt okay. And now I think I did a good job. So if there's anyone who is repeating this module, please send me an email directly. Or if you're like that type of person who is like, Ish, I'm just not really sure about my creative writing skills. So perhaps maybe I could, arrange a meeting or two with Ornati. Then please also feel free to to reach out. That's like my number one like policy. Reach out, reach out, reach out. Chloe says, I think I would love to know how to hone an idea and form it into a well-structured short story or poem or play. Fantastic. Thanks so much, Chloe, for sharing. Kukanya says, I would like to better my writing skills on short stories and dramas. Fantastic. And then Chloe says, I would also love the same help, even though it is my first time with this module. And Maria says, I want to improve my writing skills. So one of the exciting things about the workshops is that we also bring in someone who is in the industry, both in poetry, drama, and also the narrative section. So I think for this semester, we are going to have a novelist who recently published a novel in one of South Africa's biggest publishing houses, who is going to deliver a talk on creative writing and ways of owning your creative writing skills to the point that a big publishing house will accept your script for publication. So the next slide that I'm going to move on to, and it's my favorite slide, is I want to find out from you how your week has been this so far, because I think a lot of us are already experiencing some kind of or some mild symptoms of year-end fatigue, because work is very demanding and school is also very demanding because there's so many deadlines around the corner. So please, again, comment on the chat box by either inserting an emoji or a GIF where you best summarize how your week has been so far. So on my end, I decided to use a Mr. Bean GIF that perfectly captures how my week has been, where I've been working nonstop, and then by the time it is 8 o'clock, then I am very, very sleepy. I am insanely exhausted. Yes, Angeline, I agree with you. Exhausted right now, but we will get through this. I can assure you, we will definitely get through this. Chloe says absolutely horrible. I've had a loss in the family, and it's difficult to get out of that depressive slump to actually work. I'm so sorry, Chloe, for your loss, and I'm sending you a lot of prayers and thoughts during this difficult time. And please feel free that if at some point you feel this is having an impact on your studies, please feel free to reach out, and we can come up with a plan. Gokanya says, I have been experiencing some fatigue and stress. The past week I had assignments the whole week. I definitely understand where you're coming from. Actually had a meeting with the student of mine today, and we were actually talking about about this. And I think at the end, I said to her, listen, at the end of the day, we're all human. You know, life gets in the way. Sometimes we expect ourselves to be in control all the time. So yeah, thank you so much, Vikani, for sharing. Let's see. Mike was very stressful. I have 4 assignments due in the next 2 weeks. Oh my goodness. Um, I'm surprised you are still you are still standing strong like a soldier because I would have lost my mind already. Um, with my students, I always like to encourage them to submit drafts just to alleviate some sort of stress because when you send a draft, it also helps you have that idea whether you're on the right track or not. So if need be, please speak to one of your lecturers on possibly emailing a draft just for preliminary feedback. Maria says, my week has been busy. My energy levels are high during the day and very low at night around 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Condolences. Chloe, yes, it has been like that for a lot of us where we're like so busy during the day, insanely busy, and then nighttime, it's like we just want to throw ourselves into bed. Siobhan says, my week summed up in one word, hectic. Kids, school, daily work, and studying. Yes, I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. Like my heart really does go out to you. And then Jody says, had a great weekend and now Monday hit and I'm so busy. Oh, yeah, no, Monday has been insanely busy for everyone, like really busy. But students, I do want to just encourage you that you are going to get through this, whatever challenges you planning to work at school, you are definitely going to get through it. And again, if you need find yourself stuck with any aspect of this module, please feel free to reach out. So what we're going to cover in today's session, we're going to look at the haiku in terms of what is a haiku. Then we're going to look at what the conventions are for writing a haiku. Then we will look at the praise poem. So what the praise poem is, what are the conventions of actually writing a praise poem? And I'm going to be giving you some essential tips for devising a poem for the upcoming assignment, especially the portfolio. And then we'll have a brief Q&A session. So you will pick up that as I facilitate this workshop, I am going to be mentioning the portfolio a lot and also the assignment because I think right now you should start working on your you should start drafting your assignment. Just a general plea to everyone with the assignments, please by all means do your best and try to submit your assignment a few days before the official due date. And this is just to prevent yourself from encountering unforeseen circumstances like power outage in the area, internet is down, um, my modules is not working properly because the first semester when it was time to submit, I think it was the portfolio. The day of the submission, I think I was flooded with a lot of emails around 8 o'clock from students who were struggling to submit their assignment because my modules was down. And it just so happens that I was sending out a very important email that couldn't wait. And then next thing, boom, I get a tsunami of emails from students saying that my modules is down. So if you don't want to find yourself in those situations, please by all means try and submit your assignments a few days before the due date. On a lighter note, I do want to formally express my congratulations to one of our external markers for KSK, Charles Pierre, who has published his novel, The Equality of Shadows, also debuted as a bestseller available on Pan Macmillan South Africa. Africa. He's currently I believe he's currently on tour he's currently on a book tour regarding this particular publication. I think it is also available on exclusive books and bargain books. So a huge congratulations to Charles Pierre. He is also one of the external markers for the KSK module. So big congratulations to Charles. So the haiku. So what is the haiku? So for those of you who aren't familiar with the haiku, this is a kind of a Japanese poem that only consists of 3 lines. And these 3 lines place a lot of emphasis on images that are driven by seasons. In other words, seasonal imagery. So when I say seasonal imagery, I mean images that allude to winter, images that allude to summer, images that allude to autumn, and so forth. And the aim of the to appreciate nature and the world that we live in. And it is a creative form of meditation where we as writers reflect on our personal experiences. So the origins of this poem is from the Tanka poem, which emerged during the 8th and 12th century, which was characterized by 31 syllables. In other words, the poem, it has it's 5 lines. Lines 1 and 3 contain 5 syllables, whereas lines 2, 4, and 5 contain 7 syllables. So that is where the haiku originated from. And one of the prominent poets, or I like to say the godfathers of haiku, is Matsuo Basho. You can find one of his haiku collections in the library database. So the conventions of the haiku is simplicity. In other words, the poem contains 3 lines with a total of 17 syllables. And the language, in terms of the language applicable in the haiku, is that it is driven by compelling images. And when I say compelling images, I always trace this to Prof's philosophy in poetry, which is you must be able to show and not tell, and you must do so by generating some very powerful images in your haiku. And the poem in its entirety has a seasonal reference, and it does not contain any specific rhyme. And it is structured in the following ways, where lines 1 and 3 has 7 syllables, while lines 2 and 5 has 5 syllables. So a very good example of a haiku is here we're going to look at one of Basho's poem. So in terms of the assignment and also the let me just say the portfolio exam. In terms of the portfolio exam, a haiku does not necessarily have to have a title, but you are allowed to, if you want to, you are more than welcome to include a title just to give context into your haiku, and also perhaps you want to stress the significance of the title of your haiku for the reader, in this case, the external marker. So this haiku by Basho, first line is, "Oh, tranquility, penetrating the very rock, a cicada's voice." So again, the lines that are highlighted in yellow, yeah, they contain 5 syllables. And the line that is highlighted in green contains 7 syllables. So in essence, what you are doing with the haiku is that you are strictly applying the 5-7-5 rule. Okay, so before I get to the background or the context into this poem, what do you think this particular haiku is about? As simple as it is, but the images here are very, very compelling. What would you say the haiku is about? Mm. Oh, okay. Thanks, Chloe, for pointing that out. Slight erratum. Thanks for pointing. Yeah, thanks for bringing that to my attention. So Jody here says the back interrupting the piece in nature. Very interesting. And what would you say? It's related to which season? What would you say? Is it related to summer, spring, autumn, winter? Very clearly say spring. Okay, Angeline also says spring. Jody says summer. Male will say summer. So says I was thinking more of a river running against the rocks. Very interesting. Candace says the peacefulness of the season seeps through life, like through the sound of a bird. And she also says summer. Very interesting. Some very interesting takes on this particular haiku. So when it comes to poetry, one thing that I like to stress, especially when I ask students for their insight into a poetic text, is that for me, there is actually no such thing as a wrong answer. Because when it comes to creative writing, especially in poetry, your the poems are always open for open for interpretation. So that's just like my number one rule when it comes to poetry. Poetry is always open to interpretation. So just to get into the context of this poem, of this haiku, so the poet uses the word tranquility in line one, followed by a typographical figure, which is an exclamation mark. So just a side note, when I mention the term typographical figure, I'm referring to punctuation and in the context of poetry, typographical figures, and I would argue that it is applicable to the haiku and other forms of poetry. Typographical figures in poetry are often used to reinforce images, themes, tones, and also literary devices applicable in the poem. So the poem in its entirety, it's quite simple, but it has a very compelling image of the the rock, the image of the penetrating rock in line two, and it has the seasonal reference. It relates to summer because of the word kakada in line three, and you will see that no rhyme here has been used. So Chloe here asks a very important question. Does a haiku have to have a seasonal imagery? So back in the day, yes, because it was considered as the prescribed conventions of a haiku. In terms of this module, I would say yes and no. So you will see that when you do the assignments, we always we like to just make a disclaimer that the possibilities are endless. Use your creative imagination. Step out of the box. Think outside the box. So with the assignments, yes, it can have a seasonal imagery, and no, it does not have to have a seasonal reference. while the haiku is originated from the tanka, you are allowed to, for example, in a portfolio, um, devise both a haiku and a tanka as part of your poem collection. So I think this is related more to the third years where they have to produce a collection of 10 poems, I believe. So you as a third year student, you are allowed to include both a haiku and a tanka as part of the collection of your poems. So before we proceed to the praise poem, I think what I will do is that I'm going to let you I'm going to let you do just a small little activity where you just draft. Notice how I place emphasis on the word draft. Draft a haiku in which you will either use it to build your creative writing skills or use it as part of your portfolio. So with that being said, I think what I'll do is I will give you, let's say 5 minutes. Yeah, I'm going to give you 5 minutes where you devise a haiku based on any topic that is close to your heart, a topic that is very meaningful to you, anything that you are passionate about, something that inspires you. So using the 5-7-5 rule, and in the space of 5 minutes, I want you to draft a, a haiku. And then afterwards, what we will do is we're going to let perhaps two people share with the class, and I'll give you some feedback. So 5 minutes, devise a or draft a haiku based on any topic that that inspires you. And I think I will also do this activity. Okay, you have roughly around 2.5 minutes. I've in the chat box I've posted my draft of the haiku based on something that I'm very, very passionate about. Okay, so while we are waiting for other students to draft their haikus, we have some very interesting ones so far. Um, just to give a little bit of context into the one that I drafted, I thought I thought I should write devise a haiku based on something that I encounter almost every day, and that is road rage. I say an angry driver roars, a furious sight, yelling, a beast incarnate. So it's almost like comparing a driver who has road rage to a beast that's literally being incarnated. So that's just a little bit of context into my haiku. Candace wrote, the weight of my pain like a monsoon, relentless, longing for your touch. Very good draft on your first try. What I would suggest, because I think the second line, that is like the climax of your haiku. So instead of using a comma, perhaps remove that and substitute it with a dash to indicate that there is a build up to the image of um, the relentless, the word relentless, thus validating the last line, which is longing for your touch. So that is what I would suggest for this haiku. Perhaps remove the comma and replace it with a dash. Also, uh, the weight, the weight of my pain. I think, okay, that's a good image, very compelling. I would, however, suggest that maybe you find another descriptive word for weight. Yes, I would definitely suggest that you find another descriptive word for weight, because when you read the words weight of my pain, it sounds a little bit for the reader, it sounds a little bit generic. So perhaps consider finding another descriptive word for wait. Then Siobhan says, whispers, soft whispers at night. Um, Perhaps say silent whispers. I think that would be more compelling. Silent whispers at night. Mother's heart beats with her dreams. Love's constant embrace. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice draft. Perhaps instead of saying soft whispers, you can say silent whispers at night, just to place emphasis on the unconditional love of a mother. And then she also commented on my haiku and said, I can relate. Yes, thank you so much. And Chloe wrote, lightning is your roar as light leaves your teary eyes. Still a river. Farewell, my dear friend. I think a compelling ending would be still a river, open brackets, farewell, question mark, close brackets. Because I think, my dear friend, it's almost like an easy giveaway. You are doing the showing instead, you're doing the telling instead of the showing. So perhaps the last line could be still a river, then in brackets, farewell, question mark, because it leaves us, the reader, in um, suspense, wanting to read more of your writing. And then let's see. Maria says, tears running down the moon song, the monsoon seasons. Is that, I'm assuming those are the first two lines of your haiku, but please correct me if I am wrong. Malehu says, seconds slipping by on borrowed time we linger, shadows chase the light. Okay, that's also a very nice. That's also a very nice draft. I think the first and the second lines are very compelling. I like some of the um, immersive images that you've used there. Um, Perhaps find another way of saying shadows chase. By the image of chasing shadows, I think in poetry it has been used quite a lot, but the last two words, the light, that's quite good. So that is my intake on that. And then Jody says, auburn bleeding trees. Oh, very compelling. Yeah, very compelling. Auburn bleeding trees, just as my heart seeps outwards. The crows stay waiting. Oh wow, you're okay. Very beautiful. Um, Very beautiful. I'm wondering what it would be like if this your second line would be just as my heart weeps outwards, instead of saying seeps outwards. Perhaps think about that. Think about how it would look like in your poem, the heart weeping outwards. Angeline says, vulture, nature's clown, feeding on scorched carrion, anti-hero bird. Very nice. I think perhaps, Angeline, consider using a semicolon instead of a colon next to the word vulture. I would definitely do that. Yeah, using a semicolon instead of a colon. And then Kukanya says, a silent night. I'm assuming the ellipses dots. It's to you're trying to build up tension in your poem, but please correct me if I'm wrong. A silent night. The sun has said goodbye. The owl howls. Very nice. Thank you so much, Kukanya. Um, All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for your for what you have shared so far. Um, I hope to see the finished product in your assignment. But so far, if this is what you have it as a draft, then I'm very much excited about the final product. So what we're then going to do is we are going to move on to a praise poem. So before I get into the praise poem, does anyone know what praise poetry is or has an idea of what praise poem is? What a praise poem is? Anyone? Anyone know what a praise poem is? Okay, so with a praise poem, um, it falls under the umbrella of performance poetry, but it can also be written with the intention to be performed. So the best way to understand what a praise poem is in terms of context is when the president was inaugurated, then they actually had someone dressed in traditional attire, singing praises to the president in the form of poetry. So that is what a praise poem is. You are essentially devising a poetic text where you are a poetic text almost paying homage or a tribute to someone very special, someone who is like well known, but in this case, someone who you consider as special in your life. Yes, yes, Kukan, you are correct. A praise poem is a form of oral poetry, African oral poetry, correct. So with that being said, a praise poem, it pays homage to a central figure or an important figure in your life. So in the previous semester, we had some very interesting praise poems submitted by students. We had a student who wrote a praise poem dedicated to her pet dogs, because she felt that the dogs that she saw as best friends are an important figure in her life. You also had students submitting a praise poem in their home language because they felt that if I were to write it in English, then it would not have that much of an impact. So the student ended up submitting the writing the praise poem in isiZulu, which was really, really awesome. And it is a translation of a praise singer or a poet. So what would you say a praise singer or a praise poet is in your mother tongue? So for example, for me, I'm Xhosa, and we call it the translation for that is Imbongi. So this poetic text is devised in any language. So that means that if you choose to write the poem in English, Afrikaans, isiZulu, isiXhosa, Xitsonga, the list goes on and on, then you are more than welcome to do so. And the praise poem is marked by Africa's rich history in oral poetry, performance poetry. Maleo says that in Sepedi we call it seriti. Thank you so much for sharing that. So here, what I'm doing for the purpose of this particular session, this session, the praise poem, I'm going to contextualize it as a Xhosa speaking, as a Xhosa speaking woman, meaning that the examples that I'm using are practical examples that have been performed by Xhosa praised praise poets, including the conventions of praise poetry. However, for the assignment, you are free to be a little bit creative when you decide to devise a praise poem paying homage to someone you considered important in your life. So practically speaking, with the praise poem, it is typically recited in a very high-pitched voice. The performance in its entirety, it's very vigorous, and it's often performed in public gatherings, but public gatherings that are quite like very important events. And typically they are performed in traditional way. However, in some cultures they do it, some cultures they don't do it. So for example, in my culture, praise poem is performed in the traditional, the closer traditional way. So those are just the physical characteristics of performing a praise poem. Then when we look at the conventions, a praise poem often makes use of repetition, metaphor, allusion, and rhyme. And the reason why they are used is because the aim is to immerse your reader or your audience member. So a very good example of a praise poem would be a poem that was performed in East Plaza at a very public gathering. However, I have decided to provide the English translation of this text. It was actually performed in celebration of the then former President Thabo Mbeki when he was inaugurated as president. It was performed by a well-known praise poet, Zolani Mkiva. So just a slight note, when you skim through or browse through the poem, just notice how the praise poet used repetition as well as some dominant images, which is the bull, or as we like to say in our culture, inkwins. So here's an example of a praise poem originally titled Inkunzi kaNbeki, which means of the bull of Mbeki. So the sections that I just take note that the sections that I have blocked in red are one of the key defining conventions of a praise poem, which is repetition. So I'm just going to give you two minutes just to browse through this praise poem, and then we are going to get into the context of this poem. Okay, so just to also a slight FYI, this poem has been performed. I think there is a YouTube video of this poem being being performed. So some general insights into this praise poem is that the language in the praise poem, it's very simple. It's not complicated. You do not use words that are just overly sophisticated. And some of the images that we pick up from this poem is the dominant image of the bull, which exemplifies the dominant figure or authority, in this case, Thabo Mbeki being inaugurated as the president. The chorus here is the use of repetition, which is again one of the defining characteristics of a praise poem. And then the poem contains metaphor, which in essence is comparing a president to that of Inkonzi being the bull. And here the poem also contains illusions, where verses 3 and 4 suggest that Mbeki, having Mbeki being alluded to the bull, he is now seen as the savior, one that can actually free his people from the challenges or circumstances that are still rife and affect many South Africans. And that the image of the bull is also emphasized by the following words, which I have highlighted, which I've written in orange, as you can see. Yeah. So some general tips for devising a poem, which is both the haiku and the praise poem. And I would say in poetry, poetry in general, remember to just avoid the following: forced rhyme patterns. So if you're going to use rhyme patterns, try and not force it. Try and allow yourself that creative freedom where if you want to like reinforce a certain theme, then you don't necessarily have to force a rhyme pattern. Avoid using too many metaphors. Otherwise, the poem in its entirety, it's going to be quite convoluted. Stick to at least one or two. Avoid language that is very outdated. So, for example, language that's very Shakespearean like thou and dust and sound. So that's just that's like stuff that you did in high school. So please try and avoid using language that's very, very outdated. Also, please avoid using language that is generic or cliche, such as tears stream down her cheeks. I mean, that's a line that one would read in a Daniel Steele novel. So please avoid using language that is generic. And also avoid, writing a poem that doesn't have an overarching or a very clear theme. There has to be a dominant theme in your poem. And also avoid using too many typographical figures. So when using typographical figures, there has to be a reason why you're using it. Are you using it to reinforce the image of A? Are you using this typographical figure to reinforce the theme of X and Y? Also, avoid using images that are very complicated in an attempt to convey the dominant images in your poetic text. So use simple but thought-provoking and compelling images. So, that is what I would say at this point would be some essential tips in devising your poem for the upcoming assignment. As we head towards the portfolio, I am going to give you more essential tips, and whoever is going to facilitate, the person from the industry who is going to facilitate a workshop is going to be able to give you more tips on what you can avoid in your assignment. So are there any questions that you have? Any questions? Okay, I see some people are typing. Also, just a slight reminder that for the assignment 2 and 3, Turnitin is actually enabled for both assignments, and you have to make sure that you do not get a Turnitin score that is higher than 40 40%. So that's just a slight that there is that Turnitin has been enabled, and I have uploaded additional material on navigating through Turnitin. So Angeline says, any recommendations on the length of a praise poem? In terms of the length, right? We try and not be too prescriptive about the length of a praise poem, because a praise poem, it's almost like, theoretically speaking, it's like a free verse. So with the free verse, there isn't necessarily a prescribed length, but perhaps for the sake of doing the creative writing module, um, try not to exceed 15 lines, just so that you do not fall into the trap of digressing in your writing. So Malepo says, if I write a poem in my mother tongue, is it compulsory to translate it to English? Yes, if you're going to write it in your mother tongue, please do provide an English translation for the external markers. However, you must state that the poem in your mother tongue is the primary text, so that the markers mark from your so the markers mark your poem from the primary text, which is the poem in your mother tongue. I hope I made sense there. On our portfolio, is it allowed to write poems in different languages? Yes, 100%. In the past, we have had students who have submitted a portfolio in different languages, where writing task one, it would be in English, and then writing task two, the student would write it in their mother tongue. So you're more than welcome to do that. Also, while Michael and Jody are typing, one of the reasons why we have this workshop on a Monday from 6 to 7 is because, from the feedback that we got from the students in the past, a lot of the students said that they cannot attend the workshops that took place during the day. So in the past, it used to be between 10 and 11. And, the students told us that during the day they are at work, so they can only like either attend classes that's on a weekend or after hours. So that is the reason why we're having workshops between 6 and 7. However, this depends on you as the students. If you want to go back to having classes during the day, then that is fine, provided that you just send me an email saying, hi, Ms. Ngada, we as the collective, we as the group have collectively decided that this during the day. But that is, but that's the only reason why we have classes in the evening. Jody, I'm assuming this refers to is it just either 2601? Please specify which module you are referring to. Option 1 and 2 says, write 2 poems, but we have to write 10 poems. Oh no, this is for 3701. I think that's a typo. I think that's definitely a typo in terms of how the question was phrased. I'll definitely let Prof know about that erratum. Thanks for bringing it to my attention. Michael says, I asked Prof Roo if I can use scarps and dramatic flares, which he said is okay. Don't know if I have to include a glossy for key terms or do I have to translate the entire play? Um, so I would say yes, you can include a glossary for key terms, important key terms. Let me actually stress that important key terms which you feel as the writer you must let your reader um, be aware be aware of. So you don't necessarily have to translate the entire play, but just signpost key terms where you just give a brief definition. Um, Okay, Siobhan says I prefer class after hours. Aleoshi seconds that motion. Okay. Yeah, so we're just gonna stick to from between 6 and 7. I see Siobhan is typing, and then after Siobhan's query, then we will bring the session to a close. My apologies, Michael. My apologies, Michael, for that, Rotem. Oh my goodness, my apologies for that. Yeah, no, you have to produce. No, you have to produce 10 poems. Yeah, that's basically the aim of that writing task is to produce 10 poems. Thanks, Maria. I'll add you on the mailing list. Oh, so Candace, so some of the students were asking a question relating to the third year assignment and not the first year assignment. So there was actually a typo in that assignment, which I will rectify. Um, which I will rectify soon. And Chloe says, I wish I was still on the KSK 1601. I like to call 1601, I like to term it as the scent of bliss. Yeah, 1601 is the scent of bliss. And then with 3701, that is where like we say ish ziyakhala, like it's going down now, like it's this is where, all the hectic stuff happens. Oh yeah, no, the 3701, Chloe, it forces you to really, really, really think. But we will definitely push through. Okay, so what I will do is that I'm just going to stop recording the session. Then what I will do